right, welcome everybody to another Turner's Outdoorsman podcast. I have two special guests here. I have Mike Nguyen and Kyle Tibbetts, our fishing buyers. So everything that you guys see in Turner's Outdoorsman comes from these two, and they do a really good job bringing it all in. We just had a successful PCS show down at Del Mar and also Costa Mesa. So we're going to be breaking down just some fishing stuff. This year looks like it's going to be very good with the deep sea stuff, and they just came off a good trip right now. So you guys want to introduce yourselves and then break everything else down from there?
Yeah, so my name's Kyle. Like you said, I do most of our purchasing here for the fishing side of the business. Been fishing pretty much all my life. Really grew up as a freshwater guy. Got into saltwater probably over the last 15 years or so, as with a lot of people in Southern California.
Awesome. What about you, Mike?
And I'm Mike Nguyen. Same thing. I've been fishing all my life. Started it as far as I can remember. My first fish I caught by myself was like 4 years old. So,
oh shoot!
But
like a bluegill or something.
Actually, it was a spotted bay bass fishing with my dad.
Way.
Right by the wedge, like on the harbor side.
Oh, that's
sick. I still remember that fish.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like the harbor is like a rite of passage when you start getting into like that. Saltwater, but before you start getting into like the sport fishing or the offshore. I remember like Davy's Locker had the was it like the little skiffs that you could rent back in the day.
The Blue Bombers.
yeah, those are always a good time catching bat rays and stuff on those. But yeah, so you guys just came off a trip, right? I know some of the details, but if you guys can break it down, let us know what boat, where you went out of, how long it was, how the fishing was, most importantly. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so a little bit different than harbor. We just came off a 8-day on the Independence out of Point Loma sport fishing. Phenomenal operation down there. Everything from loading up on the boat to meals, to accommodations. It really can't be beat. I'll let Mike talk about the fishing, but it's just a super fun experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in my opinion, it's one of the best fishing platforms in the long-range fleet down there in San Diego. So fishing-wise, so it was a little tougher trip. We had a lot of weather, just like the trip before us. There was an 8-day before us, and they had weather pretty much the entire trip, and it just kind of carried into ours. It's one of those things where you can't control the conditions, and the dates are set, so you really can't do anything about that. And you just try to make the best of it. One bonus thing that kind of got everyone excited was some wahoo down at the rocks, which typically you don't really see this early, but it is kind of like the beginning of the season. But with this warm water we've had this past year, there were some wahoo there, and there were some opportunities. Unfortunately, there was another boat there ahead of us that kind of beat them up, and as a lot of people know, they don't handle pressure well. So we had a little hit on that, and conditions were tough. Besides dealing with the weather, we didn't have any current really, or we moved around a lot, got beat up a little bit, but at the end we kind of put it together and had a good hit back at the rocks on some nice quality yellowtail and a handful of tuna to like 90 pounds, and then we had 2 standout yellowtail from the ridge actually that were mid-50s.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, those are
some really
ones.
nice yellows.
Yeah. Could you explain for like our listeners about the importance of current? Because, some may know or may not know, for all of our newer fishermen too.
Yeah, realistically, it kind of just helps position the fish. It's kind of like a food stream, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets them in the mood to bite a little bit. It can work in your favor or against you, depending on the weather. Wind against current, which is kind of what we had, makes things very difficult. It was a very weak current. And, we were swinging like 70 to 90 degrees constantly on anchor, which makes it a little challenging.
Yeah, a little tough to follow your bait. So, Kyle, you want to go into how it was for you then?
Yeah, I was very stubborn in what I wanted to fish, and kind of set my ways. But historically speaking, this trip, we've been doing it a long time now, but it's historically been a kind of a yellowtail special trip, and the number of 50 up to 75 pound yellowtail that we've seen come off this trip kind of early season over the years is pretty impressive. historically speaking, all those big fish have been on the bottom, but we've had really good surface iron action the last few years. This year, the ticket was yo-yo fishing, which is super fun, very intensive. But that was my most productive way to fish. I think probably the biggest yellow I got on the yo-yo was 40 pounds, high 30s right in there, which is a super cool fish. But like Mike said, we had a couple of 50s. We had quite a few 40s. But I would say the average grade was probably 25 to 35 pounds.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. We talk about this, and it's like, oh, my average was only like 25, 30 pounds.
Exactly.
Granted, I mean, there's been a ton of big yellowtail caught this year down the Coronados, up here, St. Clemente Island. It's shaping up to, I mean, yellowtail-wise, like some, amazing grade of yellows. Not that little, like, 3 to 10-pound stuff that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's still around. But yeah, it's like these trips, you kind of get spoiled. And it's like, oh, I only had like a 30-pound average.
Only a 30-pounder. Only got 60 pounds.
Or a 30-pound average, like for
shaking off 25 pounders at the boat.
You look at it, and that one's not that big. But
You go on like a local trip out here, and you miss one, and you're like, you have some choice words, but then out there you're like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was it, a couple of years ago when we saw one that was 76.5 pounds, and when you see one that big, you're like, it doesn't even look real.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's so big, and you're just like, man, this thing is insane. So
yeah, it looks like they're on steroids or something like that.
Well, I had hooked my PB right before Link caught that 76 pounder.
Man.
And mine was, I don't know, it was 60 or high 50s right in there. And, we're all high-fiving, and I'm super stoked. And they lay it on the deck, and then they lay down the 75 or 76, whatever it was, down next to it. And I was just like, oh.
There,
man.
Yeah.
Somebody let the air out of my balloon.
It's like, man, your fish looks like a 20-pounder.
Yeah. So could you explain the method of the yo-yo for our listeners who don't know about it?
Yeah. So, most guys are going to fish that on a 7-6 rod heavy. The real key to yo-yo fishing typically is to burn it as fast as you possibly can. And what a lot of guys miss is putting in the right reel on it. A lot of guys out there with like small 2-speed reels, or some other low gear ratio reels with small spools, and it doesn't pick it up enough line. And you're really not going to get bit. I watched a couple guys on our trip, one being my dad fishing a low gear reel, and he was getting bit a couple of times, but side by side with some other people, fishing at least a 6-to-1 gear ratio, we're getting bit over and over and over. Once we switched them out to a little bit different rig, that definitely helped out. Down there, as far as line selection goes, it's a little prehistoric down there at times, down at the rocks or down at the ridge. We're fishing 60-pound leaders, with a Salis or a Tatty 4.0 or something like that. Color selection down there doesn't matter a whole lot, but scrambled egg, mint white, the go-tos are like pretty simple down there. But the real key, I think, is just finding the right depth, and just burning that jig as fast as you can.
Yeah, I can only imagine like when you hook one of those big ones and you're just burning it, just probably feels like you hook like a barn or the bottom.
It's like And down there, where we were really getting into them, it was pretty exhausting. We were fishing in 350, 300 feet of water. And those fish were biting anywhere from on the bottom up to like 100 feet of water. So spending days burning a jig as fast as you can, 200 feet at a time is definitely something.
Yeah, it's definitely a good arm pump right there at least. And they're like,
I
still have to work out. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is rewarding. And same thing, it's like those fish in the beginning were generally towards the bottom. And then as the bite went on and we were on a spot, they'd move up and you didn't know where you were going to hook one. You would like be burning your jig up and then you'd stop and you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm just going to reel it up. And then you slow down or whatever and just that change in cadence. And then all of a sudden you get bit.
Yeah.
Super crazy. And then like as far as the outfit, like I was yo-yoing with 60-pound. One thing that I've noticed with yo-yoing, especially when the bite's not like insanely wide open, some guys still stick with like short top shots, like 5-10 feet of fluoro or mono and yo-yo with the straight braid. I used to do that, and then I noticed like I think there's something with the noise of the braid in the water, and there's not enough separation between the jig and your braid, and it hinders the amount of bites you get. And I've switched to going to like 20 yards of 60 pound, and it seems to really help with getting bites.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate for all the followers too that are listening that you guys are very fishy people. So if you don't know what fishy means, like they get bit, like they catch fish. So not trying to give you guys too much credit, but the amount of you guys are the fishing buyers and the amount of fishing trips that you guys get to go on and the experiment, and then also just understanding what's working, when, how to use it properly. I mean, when we were at PCS, you guys were breaking down everything from a hook to a rod like it was nobody's business. I was like, oh man, I gotta get my game up a little bit. But that's just years of experience too. So
yeah, and the thing is, with it, it's like you can never learn enough.
Yeah.
Like you always have to have an open mind. I don't care how good of a fisherman you are or how good you think you are. I mean, the deckhands on the boat and the captain are out there every single day, and they see and experience so much more than even a super experienced angler who fishes a ton. They see way more, and their guidance is super important.
Yeah.
And just having an open mind and swallow your pride and like, what's happening?
Yeah. I've seen that a couple times. You go on a boat and there's guys who are like, yeah, I got it figured out. I already know what I'm doing. But for me, I'm it's a lot of money going these trips. So I'm gonna have some humility. Like you said, suck it up. Like the deckhounds are out there every day. Like I'm not on the water, so I want to make sure the time counts and things like that. Obviously, when you got like an 8-day, you got more time to fish and some reset. But like, I feel like when you go on the 3/4 days or the overnights, it's like a rush. You're like, I got to get it going. If I don't get
it's now or never.
Yeah, basically that's how the whole trip feels. But Mike, you said the start of the trip, you're a little bit snake bit, right? So what was your adjustment?
Realistically, I'm not the hugest fan of yo-yo fishing. I am not a huge fan of dropper loop fishing. I mean, fishing like big scat and stuff like that on the dropper loop, I'm okay with that. And it was just like, man, I don't know what's going on. Like I can't get bit. And then I was like, okay, I need to stop trying to catch them the way that I want to catch them and focus on what is everyone else doing and how are they catching fish? Because people were catching fish. I just wasn't, it seemed. And so it was like, okay, so just to break the ice, like I'm going to grab my dropper loop rig and I'm going to get off the stern and I'm going to go out right up. And I told them like, man, I haven't caught anything. And they were all lined up there yo-yoing. And I was like, I'm going to drop my dropper loop right here right off the side of the boat. I drop it down, it hits the bottom. I take one crank to get it off the bottom and I get bit. And I get my first one. I was like, okay, skunks off the boat. I feel better. And then it's like, okay, so next step, I'm going to yo-yo. Even though I hate it, I'm going to do it. And I switched to yo-yo and I got like, I went 3 for 4, like right away on one of them, like even on 60 pound with the tight drag, it got me into the structure and broke me off. But, but it was just like, okay, I'm just going to do what's working and put something on the boat to kind of get me back into that cycle, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the yellowtail fishing was pretty good to start off, and then you guys kind of hit a little bit of a low, right? Or a little bit of a lull, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, our first day was
wasn't bad.
I mean, it was a great day by all accounts. Right? we had close to 100 yellows. Like I said, that was the day that most of our big fish came. I don't think we had any tuna that day.
Couple on the troll, little.
Oh yeah, we did get a couple like 20-pound yellowfin on the troll.
That's it.
We picked up 5 wahoo on one troll stop. But yeah. Day 2, we moved to the ridge.
We headed to the ridge.
Yeah, so we moved down to the ridge on day 2, and that was a tougher day. Kind of a slow pick at the yellows.
That's where the conditions were really challenging. Like we had tons of wind. Like swell was probably like 6 to 8 feet, 20 knots of wind. The water temps dropped. It was a lot of factors against us. And, I mean, we'd set up and pick off a dozen to 20 fish a spot. And a lot of releasing of like some smaller grade stuff. But yeah, it was just that was where things got super challenging. For us.
It was real interesting to see a lot of that smaller yellow, that rat stuff that was down there, which we've never seen that time of year.
Yeah, like even at the rocks, like we left out our first stop of yellows.
Like
I mean,
some 3 to 6 pounders cruising around.
And it was like all you wanted. I caught one on the surface iron, and I just watched because I was like, okay, I'm good.
Should have brought the bass rod out.
But historically, we've never seen that great of fish this time of year down there.
So you think is that something that we'll see those just a big entourage of fish just coming up then, hopefully with weather pending then? Like, does it look promising, do you guys think, for like Southern California?
There's a lot of things going on right now that are very unexplainable. It would be interesting to see. I mean, that grade of fish will move up, how far it goes and what size it grows to by the time it gets up here.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's like I was saying, like the interesting is like typically we see a lot of that smaller grade fish already. And this spring it's all been like just big fish.
Yeah.
A lot of really like 17 to 30 pound fish. Like a lot of it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, especially to see it early. I mean, it's like some of the best fishing at the Coronados that I can remember. And then, that fish filtering up, and now, they're seeing nice fish on kelps. They're seeing nice grade of yellow at Catalina and Clemente. I guess there's some nice stuff at Santa Barbara too. It'll be interesting as we progress into the season to see how far this stuff moves up. I think Channel Islands are going to be a yellowtail hotspot for midsummer, early fall. I think the fishing at the Channel Islands for yellowtail is going to be phenomenal. And a lot of this stuff too, it's just going to settle in at the islands. As long as the bait's there, it'll settle in and we'll just have a really good, productive island fishing year, which we've been lacking for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Like the local fleets, they don't, the 3/4 day boats and stuff like that, they haven't had the opportunity. There's the gorilla in the room, the El Nino, and what that brings. And like I remember that local fishing, even for the half day boats, like getting into that big fish. So
yeah, we were talking about that a couple weeks ago too. Like, what was it, 2017?
2015,
2015.
I can't remember. It was all the same, but I remember it was like first time when I started going out ocean fishing seriously. Then it was like birthdays in September. So my dad's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, oh, we're going fishing. Like killing it on the 3/4 days. Like it was like skipjack, yellowfin. Like you could see Catalina Island from there. So like, I mean, I know a lot of people would be stoked, but the boats are probably gonna be super packed if it gets to that point too.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the time of year. Even historically, when the fishing's been phenomenal, once kids go back to school, it's typically pretty easy to hop on some trips.
Yeah. So bait, because I know bait was a big issue last year, right? So how'd the bait look on this trip?
Probably some of the biggest sardines I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, we actually, our bait was pretty good.
Yeah. Bait is still challenging right now.
I think it's, and same thing with that El Nino, depending on what that water temp does. If it gets super hot like it did in 2015, they're saying it's supposed to even get warmer than that. Bait was definitely an issue. I mean, the fishing was so good. Didn't have any time to cure. It was turning super fast. And then they, last year they were rationing bait. I could see it being again like that, rationing bait. The bait supply isn't as good as it's been. And then you throw in that warm water and it's like, man, I just spent $50 for a scoop of bait and it's dead by you leave the harbor, because it's so warm.
Yeah, no, definitely. That makes sense. So, starting to transition like later into the trip, how did that start to look? You guys started getting a little bit more bigger of grade of yellowfin tuna, right? Or did you guys make it way back down? We talked a little bit about this, right? You guys went back up and then came back down to the rocks or something like that?
Yeah, so we went back down to the rocks on our last day of fishing. Kind of a slow pick throughout the day at 30 to 80 pound yellowfin. Mostly all fly line. In fact, I think it was probably all fly line fishing.
Yeah.
A lot of 50 and 60 pound. They weren't super line shy towards the end of the day, but it wasn't wide open by any means. We picked up one more wahoo late in the evening. 65 pounds, give or take.
Yeah, it was a nice fish.
A nice fish. And that was kind of the end of the trip there. We did do a little paddy hopping on the way home. We had one good stop with a couple of nice yellows on it. I think one Dorado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like one thing at the rocks too was like there was a bunch of this 3 to 5 pound, 3 to 6 pound yellowfin. That was super aggravating. Like you throw out a bait and it stops swimming and you're like, okay, I'll pop it off and reel it in, and then these little yellowfin eat your bare hook.
Yeah, if you could get through the yellowfin or the skipjack, you could get bit.
Yeah.
But trying to get through them was pretty fierce.
Yeah, it's like bluegill fishing, but you got to get past the bluegill.
Yeah, it was
They
like
just
a
attack
really
you.
and
angry.
there was a point where it was like you could just see them popping everywhere, and it's like I don't even want to cast a bait out right now.
Oh, that's funny.
There's some big skipjack too.
Yeah, like the skipjack were considerably larger than the small yellowfin.
Oh, wow.
Which
Wow.
was, and then of course there was that better grade
Yeah.
yellowfin.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so yeah, it's just like fly line blade or bait. So without giving away your guys' secrets, is there any specific way that you guys like to fly line your bait for specific reasons? Because I know sometimes you go on a boat and the deckhands are like, hey, like belly or nose, but sometimes you see other people just not doing it. They're sticking to their ways. Do you guys have a specific way?
I think it really depends on where those fish are in the water column.
Mm-hmm.
If you can belly hook them or butt hook them, you can keep that bait on the surface a little more. If they're a little bit deeper or middle of the column, nose hook them. It just depends on what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so yeah, it sounded like you guys had a pretty good trip. Just a couple other questions too, just for our listeners, more for the local stuff, say like overnight, day and a halves. What are the specific outfits that you guys would recommend if we had a listener right now go out on a overnight, day and a half? What do they need to have some success on the boat?
I think the biggest thing right now is guys bringing something to fish daytime. Talking to a couple people on the boats recently, like everybody's walking out with big bluefin gear, and that bluefin is MIA at the moment. It'll show back up somewhere.
Yeah.
But people aren't bringing a 25 and a 30 and a 40 pound outfit.
Yeah, just the big stuff then.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like a 25, 30 pound outfit, a 25 for like your finesse type rig. But like the problem is like with these yellows on the kelps, they're like nice fish. There's 20, 30 pounders being caught on the kelps, and you hook one on 25 pound, he's going to kelp you.
Yeah.
40, 50 pound, I would say a good 40 pound outfit for kelp patty fishing. Fish your drag setting a little higher, like probably closer to 30% than the 25%.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's the only way you're going to stop them.
Yeah.
And it's, and once they get in there, I mean, we had one fish on our trip, but it was like we hooked one fish on this kelp, and it ran into the kelp, and they're like, we're getting this fish. And so they backed in and with gaffs and push pulls, and we got it out of that kelp. But you don't always have that luxury.
No.
Yeah.
On the 3/4 day, they're moving along.
They're like, all right, wind them up.
And it's about opportunities too. It's like, you hook a fish, it gets you in the kelp. Okay, do I play tug of war with this fish while the bite's going on and miss an opportunity to hook another one?
Yeah.
And maybe not even get this fish because he's going to break you off in the kelp. It's a lot of decisions that you have to make in that situation.
Yeah.
So, but fishing the right gear definitely gives you that opportunity to have a legitimate chance of landing them. So
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, like the listeners, we have our Californian series rods. Out of the rods, what would you guys pick up? Say if you had to get your 25, the 40, 50 outfit, like what are like 3 or 4 rods you guys would recommend?
So one of my favorites is our Californian Trihelix 805 ML with a Talica 8 with 40 pound max quattro. It's been what I call my finesse rig for the last few years. And I found that combination of that lighter braid, thinner braid, and the max quattro, your fluoro's your choice, but I've been typically fishing like 30 pound gold. Small hook, number 2 Gamakatsu, circle hook. And with that rig, I mean, fish up to 50 pounds, very doable. But that light braid, I think, and I fish like 10 to 12 feet of fluorocarbon, makes a huge difference on the amount of bites you get. I mean, it just helps your bait swim, especially with coming up and the bait possibly being not as cured, not swimming as great. Just downsizing everything really helps getting bites.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ultimately, it's like you're not going to catch a fish until you get the bite. Once you get it, you can figure it out from there.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I saw a recent debate on like, do you need a 2-speed for 30 pound or 25 pound? Do you need it? No. And some people are like, it doesn't make a difference. I disagree. Any inch or 2 or 3 or 4 or 6, whatever, however many inches you can gain, you're gaining.
Yeah.
And just that extra little oomph to help move the fish, and you're fishing lighter leaders, so you don't, putting that extra shock on your leaders. I think it definitely is beneficial.
Yeah, it's definitely a game of inches. If you go on a boat and you cast a bait out, there'd be somebody right next to you and theirs gets bit and yours doesn't. It can be the simple fact of their bait swimming just a little bit better. Like how you're saying, like lighter line, things like that. Or, I can't tell you how many times I've had fish right at the gaff and they just pop off. And then you're just like, oh.
Yeah, and that's where I think that rod also comes into play, because it's a
bit softer.
It's softer tip, softer in general, and so it absorbs all that shock really well right next to the boat, and you're not, a stiff rod right next to the boat. That's a lot of pressure on that fish right there when you're trying to finish them off. And I think that just that little bit softer rod definitely is beneficial.
What about you, Kyle? What do you got?
He really got me sold on the light line stealth rig game the last 2 years. The reel I fish the most, I would say, is probably my Avid SX Raptor, which I used to fish with 50 or 60 pound, and now he's got me down to 40 pound max quattro on that thing again. And that thing got bit a ton on our trip. Didn't land a lot of fish, but no, it definitely got bit. But I don't know. I fish a lot of our tri-helix rods too. Like an 807 is probably your most all-purpose setup. If I was to pick something to go out on a 3/4 day right now, I'd probably grab that, and like Abbott MXJ, or like you were talking about, a small Talica. And that, if you were to grab one go-to rig, I think that's what I would put you in.
Yeah, because I think it's just been interesting. I saw like a half day out of like maybe Dana Wharf or something like that, caught like a 35, 40 pound yellow. And you can see the shore from the picture. I was just like, man, like, you can imagine like, oh, I'm fishing for calicos, and all of a sudden you hook that. You're like, oh, shoot. But at least with that setup, you could still get away with it potentially. Yeah. Do everything right.
And, you look at like some of the half days down in Point Loma or Seaforth or where, and they're been picking away at big yellows on the half day pretty consistently since the season started, and even early season.
Yeah. So, is there anything else exciting you guys think for brands that we're bringing in, or anything that you guys would like to talk about that maybe our customers don't know about that we have in stores, or anything in particular?
It's kind of the time of year for us where there's not a whole lot of new stuff coming in. Maybe we can do another one of these next month. We'll be going out to ICAST, where most everything gets released for the year next month. And there's definitely some cool new things coming out.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys have any last comments or last words?
Don't be discouraged. As far as, with that bluefin, pulling that disappearing act here, it's been probably, a week and a half now. I don't know how long it'll be now when this comes out. But they're bluefin. They disappear, reappear.
It's the first week of June.
Yeah, it's.
I know the season started early, but
and then with this El Nino, it's starting to form right now. It's starting to build. If it's as strong as they say it's going to be something crazy. I guess on a point rating, like 1 point, which is huge, more than than 2015, which was the highest, the biggest one, one of the biggest ones we've ever had. It's going to change things. Hopefully, it's not too much change, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's the same thing. It's going to be. I don't want to make crazy predictions, but I don't think Wahoo and Blue Marlin again are out of the question.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, yellows up in Alaska again are not out of the question. We'll see, but it's all a little later.
Yeah,
we might have that awesome like 150 horseshoe yellowtail fishing like we did back in 15, 16 in that winter transition, where it just like settled in and just stayed there. It was some of the funnest local fishing we've ever had. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens too. It's especially the residual warm water. It just doesn't go away. it takes some time.
Yeah.
But a lot of the, a lot of spots are going to open up. All the kelp that's grown is going to probably die off, and it'll open up a lot of spots that haven't been accessible. So for all you inshore guys.
Yeah. Kyle, any last comments?
I mean, I know we've been talking about, catching yellows and wahoo and all that stuff, but there's been a great local bass bite too.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to go hop on a half day. I hadn't done it in forever. Me and my buddy went and hopped on a twilight a couple weeks ago. We had an absolute blast. It's super affordable. You can go out and catch a ton of fish and just have a great time. And it's, we picked up our kids after school and we're home by 10 o'clock. Like, it's super easy to do. And there's a lot of great fishing going on the half days right now.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, just head down your local Turners and pick up all your tackle. Maybe some of the stuff you guys talked about too, but I think this year's looking really good. I'm excited for it. I know you guys are too, but well, we appreciate everybody that's listening. If you guys have not already, make sure you like and subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys next time, hopefully on the water too. If you have any good pictures, send them to us. We'll post them up on our brag board, but I appreciate you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. See you guys soon.